You're listening to the Good Question Podcast with Richard Jacobs. Our goal is to make each of our guests exclaim, that's a good question. I don't know the answer. Because when that happens, it means you, the listener, may be inspired to learn more beyond the interview and to ask great questions yourself that lead to new insights. In this podcast, we cover historical and current anthropology, comparative religion, and history. Welcome, and let's get started.
Hello, this is Richard Jacobs with the Good Question Podcast. My guest today is Kim Rogers. She's called the Worm Queen. She's the co-founder and CEO of RogersHood. Okay, we're going to talk about Paris and how they affect us. So welcome, Kim. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it and being able to talk with your community.
Yeah, tell me a bit about your background. How did you get interested in parasites and worms and all that stuff?
So funny. I wasn't really someone that was interested in it in my career prior to this. It kind of just fell on me. And I've just kind of run with it over the last 4 years. So I come from Western medicine. I've been in Western medicine since 2004. I hold 2 healthcare degrees and I ran 25 medical colleges where I was a professor and I developed the curriculum and I developed the campuses. And so I've always been in Western medicine. I've loved the human body. I love medicine. And then in 2019, my own health started to decline rapidly after I had had 13 surgeries and a hysterectomy when I was 29 years old due to endometriosis. And my doctors couldn't help me. They were basically just telling me this is the way I have to live. I didn't agree with them. So I started to take my health into my hands and realize in the process that I possibly could have environmental toxins that are really wreaking havoc on my body. And so my husband and I sold our property, our home. We quit our careers and we went out to our recreational property to build a log home, just the 2 of us, so that we could figure out what was wrong with me or grieve and say goodbye because I was so sick. And in that process, we realized in 2021, so only 4 years ago, 1,479 days ago.
Okay.
I went viral on TikTok over a parasite cleanse that I tried because I just was at the end of my wit trying to figure out what else was wrong with me. And
What do you mean you went viral? Like the cleanse worked and a lot of people started asking you questions?
well, I went viral on TikTok over a video. So in July of 2021, I did a video about a parasite cleanse that I did. It's not my cleanse. That video helped me build a business. I just said in the video, hey, I come from Western medicine. I've been in it since 2004 and I've never dewormed myself until now. And I saw flukes, roundworm, and pinworms. And within 2 hours, 1 million people watched that video. Total amount was 10.5 million. And from that day forward, I've had over 40 to 50 million people a month watch me.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That same video or new ones you put out?
Well, I do this every day since 2021. I've done this every day. I talk about parasites, worms every day. And so in December of 21, I started a business, and the business is called RogersHood, where I developed my own parasite cleanse from everything that I learned and from my medicine background. So I've realized in the process of all of this that you have to do heavy metal detoxing, you have to do candida cleansing, and you have to do parasite cleansing pretty much all at the same time with a binder. It's very important to bind. And this knowledge just isn't out there. So that's what I do. I make sure the knowledge is out there. We manufacture our own product so that it's clean and organic and ethically sourced. So that's how it got started. And then now I just talk about it all day.
Well, how did parasites get into you? What's your best guess and what happened?
So we had parasites in our water, but since finding all of this information out, I since have found that I have chronic Lyme and I was living in mold and I had parasites in our water. And I became even more viral because of the fact that our water in our country is contaminated And so I really talk about filtering your water and making sure that you've got the cleanest water while you're definitely cleansing. It really isn't just like a one and done. This is a lifestyle. This is how people need to start to clean their soil of their body when they're starting to get their health back. We're exposed to these environmental toxins on a daily basis.
Okay, but where would parasites come from? Like when they're not in us, some I guess are in other animals, maybe cats or dogs, but the bodies are water. But where would most people living in the U.S. and I don't know, a major city get exposed to parasites?
Well, everyone in the world is exposed to parasites via your dirt, your pets, salmon, sushi, raw meat. If you're not cooking your meat, not cleaning your produce, they're out there. And really, it's about us being proactive and realizing that when you're eating sushi, you can eat 1 square inch of it and it can have up to 10,000 parasite eggs. And if you're in a chronically ill state or you're in a high stress frequency, they're going to figure out a way to attach themselves to you. And then all of a sudden, maybe a couple of months later, you literally end up chronically ill and no one can figure out what's going on with you. And it's because of the fact that we're just not cleansing as a society. Western medicine just does not teach us this. And it's really important. Other countries cleanse for worms and heavy metals and candida, but we just don't for some reason in this country. We just think it's taboo and that we're a first world country. And there's no way that our salmon that is caught in the same places as other countries or our water is great when in fact we're in the same situation as everyone else.
But again, so people are getting it from maybe consuming raw foods or even cooked ones where the parasites survive? Like, after cooking, well, I don't know, I'm thinking about salads. Maybe salads would be a big place where parasites could come, or are there certain foods or cooking types that are more amenable to it than others?
Well, you don't want to eat anything raw. You definitely want to cook all of your food. Raw is where they'll survive. So definitely cooking your food. Pork definitely has parasites in it. I don't know if you heard about RFK Jr., who has neurocysticercoma, which is a tapeworm in the brain, and it ate part of his brain. So he now has a physical worm in his brain that's not alive. And so pork's a big one. Yeah. I mean, even his uncle Ted has it, which he's not alive, but he had it. It's way more common than we think in Western medicine countries. This isn't a thing that's in other countries. This is just a thing in Western medicine countries. And I've been able to see exactly which countries have these issues because we've just thought, oh, we don't need to do that. Really? I mean, everyone I talk to is shocked because this isn't something that's ever been on our radar. And it has to do with the fact that we follow a different way with medicine than other countries like Mexico and Guatemala and Latin America and Asia. And those countries know that when you're eating raw fish, raw salmon, when you're eating these things raw, that you will get parasites. It's not even a matter of if. You will get parasites. It's just common knowledge. But for the top 3 countries that we sell our Parify Parasite Cleanse to, the United States, Canada, and Australia, we all think that we're exempt to this normal, natural occurring thing that can happen to the human body. And so we've just kind of put our head in the sand. We think this is so taboo. But in reality, this is a potential root cause of autoimmune disease. And when you bring other environmental toxins into the picture, like mold and Lyme and parasites, they all live together and they create an environmental storm inside of your body. And Western medicine doctors just don't know enough about this. They just don't understand it and they can't go out of their box. So if you're out there eating salads that haven't been prepared correctly, right? That's cleaning the produce. That's making sure that you've gotten it from a reliable source. We're getting our produce from countries that cleanse. We just don't. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, all right. So what would have to happen to, let's say, fruits and vegetables? Just wash them with like a vegetable soap or regular soap? What's needed to clean them sufficiently?
I mean, I have a really great soak that I use. I do a 2-step soak because you're eating to nourish your body. You're not eating for fun, right? A lot of people eat for fun. And I think that that's a switch that people are in their minds needing to make, that we eat our food to give us energy. energy. So if what we're eating doesn't give us energy and it's taking away energy, just like parasites do, they steal our energetic life force from us. We need to clean that. And so one of the things that I do, it's a veggie soak. It's 2 cups of vinegar, a half of a lime, 2 tablespoons of Baja sea salt, which then adds magnesium back into our produce, which is so stripped of nutrients, and definitely using distilled or filtered water. I use 1 gallon and I let that soak for 5 to 10 minutes. And then I come in and I use a product that's called a Therasage ozone bubbler that then creates an environment that pesticides and bacteria can't live on the fruit and vegetables. And that cleans the produce that I'm trying to eat in order to put nourishment back into my body. And this isn't to fearmonger people. This really is to show that you have to be proactive. We're in a day and age now where things are so toxic and we're hearing all of the, oh, you're toxic, our bodies are toxic. And they are, because we've never gone in and cleansed out the heavy metals. We've never gone in and cleansed out the parasites, and we are exposed to mold as well. And they all live together. They all really do form a environmental ecosystem inside of our bodies because we don't clean our bodies out like we should be.
Well, how often, should you do a cleanse, and why the association of heavy metals and other items? Why would they come along with parasites?
Well, heavy metals weight down environmental toxins in our body. And when I went viral, I realized that you can't just do a parasite cleanse. And we recommend 3 to 4 times a year, a minimum. That's what we recommend. Other countries like Jamaica, they do it monthly. They use a tea called the bush. 2 to 3 times a year. For Mexico, they use a synthetic. Synthetics in our country are very difficult to get. You have to go to a doctor. That's big pharma meds like Ivor and Menbend and Fenbend is all of those antiparasitics that are made by big pharma. You have to have a prescription for those. So I tried to make it really easy by doing herbs. But the reason why you want to do a heavy metal detox at the same time that you're doing a parasite cleanse is because the heavy metals weight down the body of a parasite and or the microscopic parts of the cells that are inside of your blood tissue and muscle. So when you come in with an herb like cilantro is a heavy metal detox herb. It's going to remove that heavy metal that's weighting down the parasite. So logically, it's you remove the heavy metals, it releases whatever toxins that heavy metal is holding down, and then you have to bring in another herb to sweep that out so that you're synergistically cleansing, that you're not just going in and removing heavy metals and have no way of removing the parasites that it's released. And when I went viral in July of 2021, that's what I figured out. I'm seeing all these heavy metals coming out of my body. I'm seeing mold coming out of my body. And it's like, well, how do I keep that from reabsorbing back into my body? Because some of it was coming out and some of it wasn't. So that's when I realized that, well, first off, you need to have really instructions and a kit. And I was spending every day trying to heal and going viral. Just because I went viral doesn't mean that my body was healed. I was still in a state of middle of the ground, trying to figure out what was going on other than just parasites. I since found out that I have mold and I've had chronic Lyme for 30 years. So it was really just the first layer for me. But while I was cleansing, I was sharing my information with my community. And so that's really kind of what made me realize, I think I need to make a kit. I think I need to make my own parasite cleanse because I'm talking about all these other people's products. So I need to do my own.
How long does it take? I mean, how many sessions do you have to do to cleanse yourself? And how can you tell how many you need?
It's not a one and done. This is a lifestyle that you do have to try and change, So it's 30 days. We start out at a 30-day. The kit's 30 to 45 days, but we tell you to start 30 days, see how you feel. I used herbs that help with inflammation. I used herbs that help with heavy metals. I used herbs that help with viruses. So it's not just a parasite cleanse. It's it's more than that, but that's, I'm in a niche. I'm the only one in this lane, and I was crowned the worm queen. So we definitely talk mostly about worms.
Okay, so what do the worms do to people when they have them? What are some of the symptoms? Will they actually see them or feel them, or is it just have symptoms that just match to problems with the worms, but you won't really experience them worms as worms?
I mean, everyone is different, but most people that do the Parasite kit or do deworming will see and feel. 95% of us have parasites. The CDC states that 60 million of us have parasites in the United States, and that was from 2023. And that number is only that number because of LabCorp and Quest giving that information to the CDC. Unfortunately, we don't have good labs in the United States for parasite testing, mold testing, and Lyme testing. And when I found out what parasites I had, I ended up sending my stool test to Mexico. So that 60 million doesn't even include my number. I sent the same stool to LabCorp as I did to Mexico, and LabCorp missed everything. Mexico's lab actually told me that I had Cryptosporidium parvium and that my husband had D. fragilis and roundworm. And then we got our water tested and we found out that we had roundworm larvae in our water in Hoodsport, Washington. I've also tested Seattle's water and it came positive for nematodes because our country doesn't test our water for nematodes. So we don't have good testing in the United States. So to be able to give an accurate number of exactly who has parasites is almost impossible because we don't have a way to track those numbers other than independent labs. So if you go back to that 60 million that they say have it in the United States, I mean, we only have 330 million people. I mean, that's a pretty big number for us to not have access to proper cleansing, right? And proper testing. And it's definitely something that I'm working on right now with on the Hill. I have a lobbyist lawyer that helps me. We want to make some medical reform so that this isn't continuously being a thing for Western medicine, United States. Unfortunately, we don't have really great testing, and it's because it's very hard to find the parasite. They can live in biofilm. Everybody's symptoms are a little bit different. Some people, like myself, grinded my teeth and I had skin issues. I couldn't lose weight. I didn't poop for a month and I was told you're constipated, right? I was more than constipated. I had parasites, which was stopping me from going to the bathroom. Some people can't stop going to the bathroom. And so it's really difficult to just pinpoint it to one thing. And that's why other countries have a protocol where you start to feel like your stomach is a little upset. Go take an antiparasitic. See if that's what is going on. I studied a lot over the last 4 years, other countries' medicine, and even just the Amish. They do this. If a cow gets out and gets put in an area where it hasn't been cleaned, they immediately start to dig in and see if they're all not feeling well because the cow gave them a parasite. We just think that we're exempt from it. And so that's why I'm here, is to just help people validate that there could be something else going wrong when their labs come back normal, but they don't feel normal. And that's what was happening to me.
And you get gaslighted.
Oh, 100%, right? I mean, that's really what they do to us. And when you're chronically ill, like I am, I say I'm chronically ill because I don't know every day if I'm going to wake up and feel fabulous or if I'm going to wake up and not feel very good. And so when you have that already weighing on you and then you don't know what's wrong with you, you are pushing a boulder up the hill. Every day you wake up, you're starting in a negative. And when you have an energetic life force that is stealing your nutrients, they can steal up to 90% of our nutrients, and they can hold 6-8 times their weight in spores, heavy metals, other parasites, viruses, and bacteria. And if you don't clean them out the correct way, they're going to dump all of that into your body. And then you're going to then struggle even more because you don't have any way of sweeping all of that out. And so this isn't from a fear-mongering thing. It really is about just understanding your body. And when you start to remove inflammation and mucus and parasites and mold out of your body, you get to reconnect. You start to trust yourself. You start to understand who you are as a human. because this is all we get, right? This is the only body we get right now. So I just want people to understand that it isn't just about parasites. It really is about getting down to what your root cause is and really being your own patient advocate.
So when people start these cleanses, what will they experience, let's say, the first week of it? And what's the tough time of the cleanse? Is it just visually disgusting and people are horrified by what comes out? Or is it they just really don't feel well because the parasite and everything's kind of fighting, leaving? What will they experience?
It's all of the above, Richard. It's all of the above. You could go from having, my second cleanse was my hardest. Okay, so when I first did a parasite cleanse, I used a company just from the Amazon, right? So it was just a tincture. That was it. I didn't bind. And within 3 days, I saw roundworm, flukes, and pinworms in the toilet. And I didn't have to dig. So there's 3 types of cleansers. There's flushers that just go and flush. There's lookers and then they flush. And then there's diggers. I'm not a digger, but there are diggers, which are really good for my business because they send me pictures all day long asking what parasite they saw in the toilet. And so I just saw them sitting at the top. Like they were just floating. That's when I knew there was something. That was it. Like that was one of my problems is when I saw it. And it was so validating in that moment for me. But they're going to feel things like headaches, flu-like symptoms because your body's immune system is gearing up. It's trying to make sure that it doesn't reabsorb back in anything that is dying off in your body is not going to reabsorb back into your body is what the body wants, right? And so you start to get headaches. You might have flu-like symptoms. You don't normally have to run to the bathroom, but there might be moments that you're like, whoa, right? Because your body's trying to flush this stuff out. You definitely will see inflammation reduce. You'll definitely feel better. Your brain fog will calm down. It's about getting you to a point where you can start leveling up and understanding that like you don't have to live like this. You just don't. And I feel like more of that happens than seeing worms, to be honest with you. So we usually say at RogersHood, how do you feel versus what have you seen? Because not everyone's going to see something. Not everyone has a physical worm in their body. Some have zoas, right?
What do people feel then? What's day 1 versus day 3, 5, 7, let's say?
Everyone's different.
I know, but there's pretty clusters of what, commonalities of what people say.
Flu-like symptoms, headaches. Yeah, because things are dying off in your body. And so your body is geared up your immune system and you might have like aches and pains and, just your body might feel like it's going through a flu.
You have to go hard and really aggressively get these things out. Otherwise they'll not leave, or can you do it? Can you pace a cleanse and do it slowly and gently?
Well, ours is very gentle and we're a tincture. So you take it 3 times a day and then you bind at night. And we include
So what does that mean, you bind?
Binders are things like charcoal and clay. So a binder with charcoal is a negatively charged herb and it is a magnet to positively charged toxins. And if you don't bind, then those toxins reabsorb back into your body. So you're just adding another layer of protection to have them be removed out of your poo versus they can come out other places, your skin, your eyes, your nose, your mouth. I've had people send me pictures of them pulling them out their ears. Any sort of crevice, when you start making your body inhospitable, ends up being a place that they can escape. So you need to do something that's gentle.
If you don't do it gently, then what does it look like? How does it look differently?
They come out your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your skin, your ears. They can come out everywhere when you're infested. That's what makes the Parasite kits so good and so viral, is because we've made it so it's gentle. And you bind. When I first started this journey, I didn't know what a binder was. In Western medicine, charcoal was used in the ER when I worked there to help bind like alcohol poisoning and people that have overdosed. Not a little microdose, of it. We put a little bit in a pill and that's how you bind out toxins from your body.
That's crazy.
It is. It's crazy, man. Trust me. This is the weirdest world I've ever been in my life. And I've been in some crazy places.
Are there people that shouldn't do this? They have to do some other preemptive work because it'll sicken them so badly or affect them so badly it's dangerous?
It's not dangerous. It's not dangerous. It is something, though, we realized that that can happen to people. And so we created a kit that helps open up your lymphatic. And so you want to have your pathways open, making sure you're peeing, pooping, and perspiring. Those are the 3 Ps. And we teach that and we give that knowledge in free ebooks. Even if you don't use our cleanse, we still have ebooks that are fast track guide, how to get started on a parasite cleanse. Drainage pathways need to be open, and we have a free ebook on how to do that. We have cookbooks because we do recommend that you try and eat as clean as possible, and people struggle with that. So we have free cookbook, and we answer every email, every DM, and we really try and guide people so that they don't have a bad cleanse, even if it's not our cleanse. We just really want people to be healthy. That's what RogersHood stands for. But when they're doing a cleanse, they want to make sure they're binding, and binding is really important so that the toxins don't reabsorb back into your body.
Once the parasites, stuff like that, come out, you have to do anything like pour bleach in the toilet, or if someone else uses it after you, can they pick the stuff up? Sounds gross, but is it possible?
Normally, no, but people do need to realize that you share the same microbiome as everyone in your family and in your household, including your pets. Pets are a number one way for you to get a parasite. We deworm our dogs, but we're not deworming ourselves. So when you start to deworm yourself, you need to deworm your dog. They're the fastest way to catch a parasite. They're out there licking their butt. They're out there eating other dogs' poop. They're drinking puddle water. They're drinking tap water. They're running around in the dirt, which is where you get parasites. One way you get parasites. Gardeners should also parasite cleanse, but the pet itself is outside or even inside, but it still needs to be dewormed. So everyone in your house shares the same microbiome. So if you're going to the bathroom and you're flushing, the likelihood that something's going to pop up and grab someone else is very slim to none, but everyone in your house should be deworming at the same time.
Okay. So once you're on a protocol, like how you're saying quarterly, I don't know, what if there's a close source of this stuff and it just goes right back into you after you cleanse? Like, how do you know how often you have to cleanse?
You can cleanse more than 3 to 4 times a year, but as society, it feels overwhelming, right? People feel overwhelmed when something's beyond 30 days or it's something you have to keep doing. So we recommend that it's 3 to 4 times a year or with symptoms. If you're on the 30 days and you're like, I really would like to keep going, you can. You don't have to stop. We do recommend that after each kit, which is around 30 to 45 days, that you take a 7-day break in between and start again. We also created a lymphatic kit that's called the Lymph Kit that will help keep your pathways open. You take it while you're on the Parafy cleanse so that you have a good, calm, gentle Parafy cleanse. And then you keep taking that after. And I added antiparasitics inside of the Lymph Kit to help keep you proactive and basically keep your body inhospitable. When your body is inhospitable, they don't want to stay in you. And that's what we're trying to do. So other countries use antiparasitic foods like pumpkin seeds. Pumpkin seeds are an antiparasitic. They put those on salads. They put them on foods that potentially have parasites in them so that when you eat the parasitic type of food with an antiparasitic, you're actually creating an inhospitable environment for them and they'll just leave. So if there's
what if you create like anti-parasitic salts and peppers and seasoning and stuff?
You can. You can. Clove, garlic. Garlic is an antiparasitic. You can also take the Parafy kit prior to eating questionably is what I do. I don't eat salmon anymore and I don't eat fish, but periodically I will eat crab, but that had to be steamed. So the likelihood that something that is cooked that will have an alive parasite in it is kind of slim. However, I have shown them many times on my account where we pulled out parasites from salmon that was in the oven, but it just wasn't cooked enough to have killed it off.
And that black drum, I've seen the parasites in the fish, and and they showed me at the fish place. I don't want to name names, but they're like, yeah, there's a lot of parasites in this thing. I'm like, oh, nice. You just serve it, and they're like, yeah, people buy it as long as it's not riddled with stuff. But we sell it, we don't care.
Closer to the belly of the fish, the more parasites. So the further out you go, the least amount of parasites. But usually fish have parasites. I live here in Seattle, and I go down to Pikes where they throw the fish, and I interview interviewed them.
They're sure parasites.
Yeah, that's one day I was standing there. I'm like, they're just throwing parasites back and forth. You can see them wiggling on the ground because they're the ice that the fish and the seafood are on is all melting. You can see worms on the ground. It's just normal though. It's just normal. We just don't think this is normal because it's so new to us as Western medicine and doctrination. But other countries really laugh at us. I see it all day in my comments. They're like, what do you mean you don't think you have parasites? What do you mean you're eating questionably and you don't think you can catch a worm? And I'm just like, we just didn't realize it. It's just not something that was in our orbit until recently.
Are there any associations? So autoimmune, you're saying, is is long-term parasites burden will lead to autoimmune diseases, or will it lead to cancers? Like what will it lead to? What have you observed?
Well, from all of the podcasting I've done, I've done around 200 or 300 now, and we do have over 1 million followers across all of our platforms. And I've been on some really big podcasts with Dr. Josh Axe and Will Cole, and we discuss what you just asked me often. I believe that when you have something in your body that causes your cells to be stagnant, it starts to try and defend itself by building abnormal cells around any environmental toxin that it's trying to push out, but it doesn't know exactly what it is. It can't it can't figure it out, so it builds a hardened shell around it, and they live in a hard shell called biofilm. And so when our bodies don't know how to process this abnormal structure that's inside of it, it starts to create abnormal cells around it, and you can call it whatever you would like to call it for anyone that's listening. And a lot of people that have thought that they had the big C actually just have environmental toxins in their body, including parasites. They all live together in a house that we call biofilm. It's hard like a egg shell, and when you crack that shell, they all come out. Unfortunately, if you crack that shell and you don't have the correct frequency herbs or medication to sweep them out, they're going to find another place to live. And so that's kind of where I feel like identifying cancer and identifying other ailments that we could have in life is difficult. From Western medicine, my standpoint is it is very difficult to identify when you don't even know the DNA structure of what you're trying to identify. And that comes the issue with the labs. They don't have the DNA structure of the labs in order to identify every single thing that comes across their desk. So if you look at a lab where you've gotten your stool tested for a parasite, they will mark it as negative, but in the fine print at the bottom, it will say this is not in lieu of a parasitic infection. So if you're already starting from behind, how can you really justify exactly what you're trying to diagnose if you don't even know exactly what you're diagnosing? So Dr. Axe had told me on the podcast that his cousin actually had a parasite and they thought he had brain cancer.
Oh, well.
So if you don't know and you are trying to advocate for yourself, the best thing to do is to start cleaning your soil. Figure out what it could be, because no one else is going to figure that out for you when you get to the points where you are so chronically ill and you can't get any help. Start cleansing. Start cleaning your soil. Start figuring out where you want to redistribute your energy for your foundation. We're all stuck in this hamster wheel with chronic illness. Our country is the number one for the sickest country in the world. I mean, that's just crazy to me that we are one of the sickest countries in the world. We have the best technology. Why are we so sick? Well, because we just assume that our organs, which are super taxed on a daily basis, 75% of our buildings have mold in them, and our water has worms in them, and we're constantly eating processed foods. Our water source has heavy metals and pharmaceuticals. How do you think our body can continue to cleanse? We need a little help. And so where you come in with doing something like a parasite cleanse, coming in and helping your organs detox and support. One of the things that I learned through this process and was able to use my classical Western medicine training is that if you give just a little bit of extra help to your organs, they're going to respond by cleaning, right? That's what they're for. But when they're so full of crap, there's no way that they can work. And then they rely on other organs to help give energy. And then that's when pancreas start to, stop working. That's when your kidneys start to malfunction because they're taxed.
Makes sense. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
When mold comes out and other things besides, worms or what does that look like? How do people know like what's coming out?
Well, protozoas are microscopic, so a lot of people won't see parasites like protozoas. They'll see physical worms, but not everyone has those, like I said earlier. Now, the goal is to not see anything because the herbs have gone in and basically made the physical worm explode. I have a couple of videos. If you won't go to my Instagram or my TikTok account, and it shows pineapple juice is an anti-parasitic. So when you drink pineapple juice, it actually causes the parasite, the physical worm, to explode. And it shows that under a microscope. It's so cool. It's so cool. So usually it comes out and looks different for everyone. I saw physical worms. Sometimes I get people that have put their poop under a microscope, and then that's when they see the microscopic worms. So it can look different.
But what about like specifically mold? What does that look like when it comes out? There's like mini molds.
So sometimes you can see the mold where it looks like what's on your wall, right? So if you were to cut your body in half and look at your body, it looks like what you see on the wall. And so when it comes out of your body, it's colonizing just like what you see. Black, fluffy, greens. Sometimes they're like a fluorescent green. I've had people that have worms and mold put together, and then they dug it out and they broke it, and the mold popped open and like expanded. Oh yeah. What you see in the outside of your body is exactly what's going on the inside of your body. The problem is that it's interfering with our cells and it's interfering with our mitochondria. And so we're not able to push these things out, and they just start to colonize, and it pushes the red blood cells together. You've got EOS, which is eosinophils, that your body is attacking its cells. So when that number's high, you usually have fungus, parasites, or mold in your body because it's saying, listen, I'm in a constant state of attack. I'm trying to push all of these environmental toxin invaders out, and I can't keep up anymore. And so that's when your numbers start to go up.
Crazy. Well, very good. What's the best place for people to find out more? They, I guess, go to your YouTube channel, watch for a number of days, order your kit. Like, what's a great place for people to start?
Well, I do have a podcast. It's What's Eating You with the letter U. That's on YouTube, and it's also streamed on all podcast platforms. I have a TikTok, Instagram, YouTube account, website. You can follow me on Mrs. RogersHood. That's MRS RogersHood. You can also Google me, Kim Rogers, Worm Queen. You'll see everything pop up, including all of my podcasts that I've been on, and you can find them in our link tree as well. And then my website is RogersHood.com. Our parasite cleanse is called Parafy. That's Parafy. And I do recommend starting with our lymph kit and then continuing on with our Parafy parasite cleanse.
Okay. Well, very good. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and relaying all this. And I appreciate it very much.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
If you like this podcast, please click the link in the description to subscribe and review us on iTunes.
Thank you for listening to the Good Question Podcast. Please email support@thegoodquestionpodcast.com if you have any referrals to great guests for us to interview. Visit thegoodquestionpodcast.com to hear more interviews. And please help us spread the word by rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to this podcast.